everyone, it's MadClaret 94 here, and John, put the alcohol away. It's that time of the year, I suppose. It's party time. It's the final day of the season, the final Premier League prediction of Let's Talk Football of the season. As you can see, John is with us as usual. He's back after last week being busy with work, real life.
Yep.
So yeah, it's. Considering, I mean, we didn't start the season on the first day, but we started. I think we started in fairly early, so we've practically done an entire season of predictions. We've been made fools quite on a regular basis. My predictions with Liverpool have been fairly off the mark sometimes, or like last week where I was bang on the money by saying Junior Stanislas was going to score, and he went and did that.
Yeah.
So
and I wrote. Good evening, everybody. Good afternoon. Sorry. I actually wrote in below in the comments section below and I said you were on the money. So,
I mean, I said to my dad before, just literally like 5 minutes before kickoff, I went, "What do you reckon? What do you reckon the odds are on Junior Stanislas scoring?" And he went, "They're probably quite good." And 25 minutes later, I hear him swear, and I'm just kind of like, "Did Stanislas score?" And I went, "Yeah." So should have put a bloody bet on it. Anyway, so as you can see, we're very hit and miss. We've done better than some predictors, should I say. If you look at Mark Lawrenson on the BBC website, we've been a bit more accurate than him sometimes. Other times, not so much.
And I've done I've beaten another predictor, and I won a laptop.
Yeah,
so
he won a laptop by doing predictions. So yeah, very, very. We've had a reasonable season of predictions.
And this week on Talk Sport, I'm putting myself up against my old nemesis from a couple of months ago, a certain Mr. Adrian Durham, who I still have beef with. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's another thing that's happened this season. Plenty of beef with various biased and not so educated pundits, as they like to call themselves. But anyway, enough waffling. We've got to get into the predictions for the last time this season. I say predictions, the last Premier League predictions. Obviously, we've got the wonderful thing called the playoff finals just round the corner, and the FA Cup final. So whether I'm not sure what the timing is for some of those, but it's basically the last weekend of May.
It's a bit lopsided, I think. I don't know.
Somehow League One is ahead of League Two in the playoffs. I don't know how that's happened. But
yeah,
that's
a bit lopsided, to be honest.
That's what's happened. We're just going to have to go with it. And obviously Forest Green, just a quick mention to them, congratulations on getting into the Football League. How on earth has a team that size managed to get themselves into the Football League? I will never know, but they performed miracles against Tranmere.
Yes, congratulations. They played really well on the day against Tranmere, deserved to win.
So yes, that's what I mean. The playoffs are very lopsided this year, so yes, so congratulations to them. But we're going to jump up. They're only 3 tiers away from us now, essentially. So we're within 96 places, which is rather scary. But hey ho, let's get into it then. So we're only 3.5 minutes into the video, and I haven't said anything about the first game. I say the first game. They're all at 3 o'clock, which is very useful, I suppose. So all we've got to do is go in alphabetical rather than by times. And to begin with, it's at the Emirates Stadium for Arsenal versus Everton. And, this is the big game for Arsenal, really. It's all on them. Everton, they're going to be 7th. There's no ifs or buts about it. They look like they've jacked it in. I think you said a couple of programmes ago, they look like a team who've just kind of given up on the season because they're kind of locked in one position. They can't be caught and they can't catch anyone else. I would have thought that Lukaku would be playing a little bit better, considering that a lot of teams are window shopping for a world-class striker. Whether he fits that bill or not is another thing. But for Arsenal, their season kind of... Well, it doesn't really hinge on this because they do have an FA Cup final to look forward to. But in terms of next season, in terms of improving and trying to keep up with the top 4, top 5, maybe even the top 6, depending on how things go in the transfer market. Having that Champions League as a poll is kind of important to them, and with this whole, there's a lot of talk about the playoff, if that makes sense. Basically, the possibility of there being a playoff to get into the Champions League playoffs gets a little ridiculous, but yeah, basically, if Arsenal draw 1-1 with Everton, and Liverpool somehow contrive to lose 2-0 to Middlesbrough, there will be a playoff for 4th place because of how goal difference and goal scored and points will all be the same. So it will have to be settled via a playoff. Highly unlikely, I know, but you never know. That might even give us one more Premier League prediction to do. Who knows? But
believe me, if that is the case, but
yes.
You never know. You never know.
Man City could end up in the playoff, but that gets extremely complicated, and I don't have 2 hours to explain why, how. It was almost as long-winded as the League 2 playoff promotion chase, which was rather ridiculous on Sky Sports, but Jeff Stelling managed to pull it off, so well done to him. Yes, Arsenal-Everton. I mean, as much as I want to say Everton should be a good match for Arsenal, they've been playing pretty awful since, for the last 4 weeks of the season. They've been pretty awful. And the way Arsenal have been playing, Arsenal have been doing their usual thing, which is literally turn up last second every season to somehow snatch top 4 at the latest possible opportunity. And I'm pretty sure they're trying to do it later than they did last time. I say last time they finished second, but there have been previous times where they've literally snatched it in the last game. I think they went to Newcastle a couple of seasons ago to snatch top 4 last time, and they celebrated it and all that. So I'm going to back Arsenal for this one because the way they've been playing recently, their performance against Sunderland was unconvincing, but Sanchez was the difference. And the performance against Southampton was Stoke was very, very good. So I'm going to back Arsenal to win this one. I'm going to say 3-1. I mean, I struggled to see Everton scoring, but I just think for the last game of the season, they would get a goal somehow. Lukaku, like I said, this is essentially his last game to impress someone to get a transfer away from Everton because he's constantly being disillusioned by them matching his expectations and wanting to play in the Champions League. So I'm going to go for 3-1 to Arsenal. I just think the way they've been playing right now, and they're so desperate to catch that top 4, it might just be too late, but it doesn't stop them from putting the pressure on everyone else. So I'm going to go 3-1 Arsenal.
Well, this might be the Guinness talking, but I don't care. No, seriously, I think it is too late for Arsenal. I think that spell where the wheels really came off, I think, has done for them. And they've sort of come back into it a bit too late. And I can't see them getting a positive result. I think they'll get a draw at best, but I can't see them actually physically getting any victory. I think Everton will go there. I know they want to end the season on a bit of a high. Lukaku, as you say, will want to try and end the season well and get himself in the shop window for any potential clubs that might want to buy him in the summer. And then also, of course, I've got the small matter of a cup final next week to win some silverware. So Wenger's in a catch-22. Does he rest players for the Wembley, or does he go for it, or does he go all or nothing on this game? So he's got a bit of a catch-22. And with all that, when I put all those theories into one basket, I am going to say that Arsenal will draw 1-1 with Everton. I honestly think that I think they've left it far too late to grab a Champions League place. I think Liverpool and Man City should win both their games, and it's probably going to be academic for Arsenal. I think they'll end up in Europa League. 1-1 I'm going to go for.
1-1, so you're going. The playoffs is on then. The playoff is on. Possibly in Europe. Well, depends what you say for Liverpool, Middlesbrough, but we'll get to that in a minute. Then we move on to Burnley in their final game of the season at Turf Moor. Where else would it be? Our home form has been a little bit shaky as of late, but it's towards the end of the season, and we've managed to tumble over the line as such, getting to 40 points. But we're going up against West Ham United, who, they're not in good form after that Liverpool drumming, are they? Got beat 4-0 rather comprehensively by Liverpool, who, they were a class above. Liverpool were against West Ham midweek. I say midweek, it was last weekend, wasn't it? So you would think, with our home record, and West Ham aren't that bad away. They've been better away than home, but that's what happens when you move stadium. Our record against West Ham at the Turf, though, is pretty impressive, especially in the league. I know the last time we played at Turf Moor against each other that wasn't a league game was, I think, the League Cup, and they got lucky with 2 penalties, basically. I think they beat us 2-1 in the League Cup back in... Am I right in thinking it was our promotion season?
It will have been, yeah. It was a tight match.
It was either our promotion season or the season before, because I'm pretty sure we got Southampton was the team that knocked us out.
No, it was the promotion season, because that game took place 3 days after that big match at the top between us and QPR.
Oh, right, yeah. So
yeah, I remember it very well. Yeah.
But that, I think, was the last time I can't remember whether they beat us. Did they beat us in 14-15 at the Turf?
Yes, they beat us 3-1 in the first game.
So we've got to set the record straight. But previous to that, we've done pretty well against them. So we should. I say we, try not to be biased. Burnley should. I mean, our home form is pretty good. Pretty terrific was what I was going to say, but that's double positive. I'm just going to say the way we've been playing recently. I mean, apart from the Bournemouth game was fairly flat, but I think that was because I think that was basically the season being done. I think a lot of players were kind of, I wouldn't say have jacked it in, but there was no pressure on them to perform. But after that performance, they will certainly they will not want if they perform like that at Turf Moor, they will quickly be out the door, because a lot of people will make sure that their voice will be heard about that. So we have to back Burnley for the win, because it's us. I'm gonna go a regular scoreline between Burnley and West Ham at the Turf. I'm gonna go for 2-1 to Burnley. That's generally the thing that happens at the Turf. It ends 2-1 9 times out of 10. I'm going to go for Sam Vokes to score both again. He's been in top form in the last month and a half now. Deserves an inform in FIFA, is all I'm going to say. West Ham, obviously, like I said, they'll be looking to recover from their performance against Liverpool. Slavan Bilic's job kind of on the line. The West Ham fans certainly back him, from the chants that I was hearing during the West Ham Liverpool game. I think it would be rather foolish if West Ham were to get rid of him, but we're talking about the prediction here, so I'm going to go for 2-1. What about you, John?
Well, I thought, before I make the prediction, I want to go back to last week. I said at the time, and I still back what I said at the time, at least half the team, half the 11, I'm not going to name names, but half the team are not fit to wear the shirt. After that performance, Bournemouth should have beat us 3 or 4-1. It was just from start to finish. Apart from Vokes' goal, was the only bright spark of the entire weekend, and it was really disappointing. I felt sorry for the Burnley fans who had actually travelled all the way down. It's a 600-700 mile round trip, and to see that display served up, it wasn't good enough. I think the least Sean Dyche and Co could have offered in a way of an apology was to refund the fans, but there you go. That was last week. It didn't matter in the end because Palace beat Hull, so we stayed up anyway. So it was a bit of a bittersweet weekend for us last week.
Well, you say we stayed up. That was, I would have said that was confirmed at the West Brom game, because it was like we had a 20+ goal difference on them anyway.
Oh yeah, but
plus they had to play Palace, so one of them was going to go. We were going to stay up regardless.
But what I'm saying now, as soon as we're mathematically safe,
that's the official.
The relief was there for all to see. Anyway, this week, I think now Burnley can relax today, on Sunday, because this is West Ham. They've done really well the last few games, of course. Obviously they got thrashed and beaten to a pulp by Liverpool. But I don't think Bilic will go. But I think Burnley, they do have a good recent record against West Ham, apart from the last 2 games. But as I say, well, they'll want to put the record straight. They'll want to send the fans home for the summer with a win. I think they'll also keep a clean sheet. Also, I'd like to add, well done to Tom Heaton on winning Burnley Player of the Year.
Yep.
Very well deserved accolade. Also, Key winning the Players Player of the Year. Henry getting Goal of the Year as well.
Yep.
Now, this is going to be a little bit controversial now, because the goal scorers I'm predicting are going to be Vokes and Gray. I think they're going to end the season with a level goal scoring thing. So they'll get to share the goal goals award, which would be amazing. No disrespect to Ashley Barnes, who's chipped in with a good 6 or 7 goals himself and has done very well. Because he's sort of like the hard worker. He doesn't make the headlines as much as what Gray and Volksy do.
He's the what do I call it? The modern day Kevin Davis.
Yeah, he's the
best,
work.
best.
He's more out of the 3 strikers. He's the more workmanlike of the 3.
Yeah,
because he'll fight and scrap and do the dirty work. But I honestly think Burnley should have I think West Ham already jacked it in. You could see that last week against Liverpool. Liverpool had something to play for. West Ham obviously didn't. So Burnley will want to end in a high. I mean, whatever happens on Sunday, I think they're going to get a good round of applause anyway. But I'm going to back Burnley for a comfortable 2-0 victory. I can't see any problems with that. And as I say, Volks and Gray to get the goals, and they'll share the goals. They'll share the goal.
Top scorer.
The top scorer award. Yeah, the golden boot. That's what I was trying to find.
That's
yeah. Yes, but Burnley to win by 2 goals to note.
Okay, player to watch out for if he's fit, Andy Carroll. That's all I'm going to say on the matter, because he always has a habit of turning up against us, and I think
agreed.
I'd be worried, especially if Michael Keane still isn't playing, because Tarks and Long they've been all right together, to be honest. They impressed me in the West Brom game. They were a little bit ragged by.
I thought they were poor against Bournemouth, I have to say. Yeah. I really thought they were poor. Mind you, most of the back 4 were, to be fair.
But Josh King is a slightly harder person to mark than a very slow-moving Hal Robson-Kanu or Rondon, who, despite him being slow, or, to be fair, he's not slow, but despite him being by himself, he still managed to freaking score. Anyway, along with Craig Dawson, but we'll leave him alone. Moving on, we'll move on to Chelsea against Sunderland now. Champions, obviously, top club going up against bottom club. The only real relevance would be that's the social media campaign to get the little lad Bradley to present Chelsea with the Premier League trophy, which is picking up speed rather rapidly. And obviously the other thing would be John Terry's potentially last appearance. It will be his last appearance for Chelsea, provided he obviously unless he plays in the FA Cup final, but I'm not sure he will because of the high-profile events. This will be more of his farewell to Chelsea, I think. Thought he had the perfect farewell in the previous game against Watford by scoring, but then he managed to duff it up and wipe out his goal, and Watford got a goal back, but. I think this is a cut and shut one, really. I mean, both teams, no pressure. Chelsea in party mode. I'm going to go for 3-0 to Chelsea. Just, as good as Sunderland have been. Maybe Defoe might score. Depends if Bradley's with him. Those two have struck up a rather incredible friendship over the trying times for both being a Sunderland fan and his own personal struggles. So, yeah, I'm just going to go for 3-0. Chelsea are champions for a reason, Sunderland are bottom for a reason, and I think it's as straightforward as that, and Chelsea to finish with a flourish. Before
I get onto the predictions, yes, I would like to mention I'd love to see Bradley Lara give John Terry or Gary Cahill, whoever's the captain on the day, the trophy, because I think it would be a nice touch. And I know Bradley Lara, I mean, he won't be worrying about Sunderland's plight at the moment because he's got his own fight to leave, and I hope he beats this unbelievably bad disease he's got. I really do wish him and his family all the best. He's an absolute inspiration to anybody, any young kid out there. He's still full of life despite this illness, and I really hope and pray that he does pull through with this cancer, because if it would be really good if I could do that. Obviously it's wishful thinking, but it would be great because the lad is such a good lad. He gets him, he just bravely gets through life as if it's effortless, despite having this cancer, and he's probably one of the nicest young lads that we have in this country. So I wish Bradley and his family very, very well. As for the match, I'm with you on this one. Chelsea are top for a reason, Sunderland are bottom for a reason. It's got to be a landslide, hasn't it? I'm going to go 5-0 to Chelsea. I just don't think Sunderland are going to... I mean, some of them... I mean, Alan Shearer was right about Sunderland last week against Swansea.
Not biased at all.
They didn't.
Newcastle.
No,
but yes.
no. Even David Moyes agreed, and I could see that on the 10-minute snippet on Match of the Day. They didn't try. They didn't try. You could see the look on the Sunderland fans, the horror on their faces.
Well,
You'd think
what,
the last home
on
game,
the faces of the seats.
yeah,
That's how
but
bad it was.
But you think the last home game and that they're running through the middle. The least they could have done was put in a display and put some sweat on the shirt, and they didn't do that. And that's why I think they're in a bad state. Sunderland, Chelsea should walk it 5-0, and that's one of my bankers on the TalkSport predictor, and I can't see it be any. I can't see it being any other than a big Chelsea victory. So I'm going to go Chelsea 5, Sunderland 0. Okay. Sorry, Sunderland fans.
And sticking with the relegation versus top theme, or should I say relegation in the north east, going up against a top 2 London team, Hull have I nearly said Sunderland, have Spurs for company up in the KC Stadium for the last Premier League game that they'll play for at least a year. Again, this is going to be another. I mean, Spurs are playing at the time of recording, I think. Let's have a look at what's currently going on. Tottenham are 2-0 up against Leicester. We're literally talking half time. So they're playing pretty well at the moment. Obviously, they finished at White Hart Lane. John commentated on the match. I know I watched it myself. They were superb for 70 minutes. I mean, Man United came on strong for the last 20, but that's what Manchester United do. They turn up late, generally. I think I'll be honest. I think Tottenham will probably win this one because they'll be wanting to make it at least look like Chelsea had to run for their money a little bit. I mean, the gap's still ridiculous as it is, but I think Hull will put up a bit more fight than say Sunderland will. I'm going to go for 3-2 to Tottenham. I think it'll be a bit closer. I mean, Hull's home form, or should I say Marco Silva's home form, has been incredible up until the loss to Sunderland was devastating for them. I stated it in the last prediction that I did by myself. Hull had literally done all the hard work, and to lose to a relegated team, and that essentially relegated them because they then could not get the result against Crystal Palace, and Swansea obviously overtook them. That loss in itself, that one home loss that Marco Silva has had for the best part of 3 years, is what has doomed them. And I think that is devastating. That obviously has devastated them by essentially relegating them. But I think they'll put up a bigger show than say Sunderland would. Like I said, their home record prior to that has been superb as well, almost as good as ours. But they'd only started showing up after Marco Silva turned up. I mean, if you look at the second half of the season, they've probably got one of the best home records in the league. So they have that record for a reason. But Tottenham, they're second for a reason, whereas Hull are relegated for a reason. The golfing class will show just, and I think Hull will be playing with no pressure on them, and Spurs obviously no real pressure on them. They're not going to get caught by third place. So overall, it's going to be an entertaining game, end of season kind of party atmosphere for Tottenham fans, and Hull fans will be proud of what they managed to achieve this season despite being relegated. Because let's not forget the start of the season. I mean, the first few shows of Let's Talk Football, we mentioned about how Hull City were basically knackered because they didn't have a full squad of fit players. Their manager was only on an interim basis because Steve Bruce had left. They were in bits, and for them to have managed to hang on right to the very end, and as disappointing as losing to Sunderland, which essentially relegated them, for them to have done so well, considering how the season started and what situation they were in and the ownership problems and all that, they've done incredibly well this season to not finish bottom for starters. They should have been dead and buried by the time Christmas came about, and they weren't. They were there or thereabouts in the relegation fight. So Hull City fans can be very proud, and to be honest, I think they can be quite confident, provided they keep the core of their team together. Maybe even keep hold of Marco Silva. There's talks of him possibly leaving at the end of the season. But I think they out of the three relegated clubs, I think they have got the most chance of bouncing straight back up, simply because of how things have gone this season. And like I said, Hull fans, you should be, as disappointing as relegation is, You've got to put your whole season in perspective.
Exactly.
You really should not have had hope in hell in staying up, and you managed to drag it all the way through to the last 2 weeks. So you should be proud in that regard. And, going back down to the Championship it isn't the worst thing that can happen. It gives you an opportunity to rebuild, get a proper structure in, and then come back, because you weren't prepared this season. Give it a pre-season and everything. Maybe with Marco Silva or with a new manager, you get everything in place, you'll be fine in the Championship. You've shown in the past you've been good in that league. We know ourselves. You gave us a goddamn run for our money in the past. You gave us an absolute tonking in the season. What was the score? I'll have a look at my mug.
3-0.
What was it? 3-0 at the KC Stadium.
That was the last defeat that season for us.
Yeah, that was. It essentially turned our season around a little bit, so I'll give you credit for that. But you're definitely better than the Championship, and like I said, you should be proud of what you've achieved this season, despite going down. So yes, the scoreline I'm going to go for 3-2 to Spurs. What about you, John?
Well, I'm going to go 3-1 to Tottenham. I thought they were very, as you say, I commentated on the match last week. I thought for 70 minutes they were a cot above Manchester United, who obviously are putting their eggs in the Europa basket. But having said all that, I sort of echo what you say about them, because I must admit I was guilty as anybody on the first few editions of LTF, actually saying that they're doomed to failure. Mike Phelan isn't good enough. The players aren't turning it on. They haven't got a good enough squad. And then Marco Silva's come in. He's been like a breath of fresh air. He did some magnificent business in the transfer window. Let's not forget Krasicki as well. He was marvellous for them, and one or two other players. I think I agree with you with that Sunderland result. I think they picked a very bad moment to turn that sort of performance in. They played actually quite well, funnily enough, against Sunderland. They just couldn't finish. And then at Crystal Palace last week, they knew the pressure was on, because Swansea had won at Sunderland the day before, and Palace, they met a Crystal Palace side that were more hungrier. They wanted it more. They absolutely outplayed them. Yes, Hull had about 70% possession, but it didn't get them anywhere, because Palace's tactics really stifled Hull, and they were good on the break, Palace. I echo what you said. The Hull fans should be delighted. Well, not delighted, obviously, because they've gone down, but they should be proud of what they've done and what they've tried to achieve. And I think if they can keep Marco Silva, I think he could do well in the Championship next season. And I'd have him down as one of the early favourites for promotion next year. So plenty to be optimistic if you're a Hull fan, I think. Despite the relegation, they've got a better structure than the other two demoted teams in Sunderland and Middlesbrough. I honestly think Hull, Sheffield Wednesday, who lost out to Huddersfield the other night, I think they're going to be the early favourites, along with Aston Villa, to bounce into the Premier League next year. So, it's not all doom and gloom with Hull fans. You've got to be big favourites to go back next year. So keep the faith. If you can keep Marco Silva, I think that will be an absolute plus for you. And if you can keep most of your good players, you've got every chance next year. But I'm going to say on this occasion, Spurs to win it 3-1, but I think it'll be a wide open game. No pressure on either team, but Spurs to end the season with a flourish, 3-1.
Okay, then we move on to Leicester, who I was just mentioning. They're currently 2-0 down at time of recording to Tottenham. They go up against Bournemouth, who outclassed us last week, in a game which should be full of attacking joy, really, if everything goes to plan. Obviously, both teams have very good free throwing. Yes, that's really good. Free flowing, if I can get my words out. Free flowing attacking teams. Lots of pace, lots of finesse. Should be a good game. Lots of goals. I'm gonna go for a 2-2 draw here. I know it's at the King Power Stadium, but like I said, they're both of similar mould. I think Bournemouth are slightly more possession than Leicester are. Leicester are more counter-attacking, but if both teams turned up for fully concentrating and everything, it should be a very fun, entertaining game. Could be the game of the day, if I'm honest. Looking at the matchups, could probably be the most even, most entertaining matchup. So yeah, I'm going to go for 2-2. Eddie Howe knows how to make a team, set up attacking wise. Not the greatest defensive wise, but they can shut up shop at times, as they've shown last week. And as I said, Leicester, they on their day are one of the best attacking sides in the league, quite easily. So, yeah, I'm going to go for 2-2.
Well, I'm going to go for Victor Leicester win on this one. I honestly, but I mean, both teams have had Bournemouth have had a really good season. It could be if they stayed in the top 10, it'd be their best ever league position in their history, which you've got to give credit to Eddie Howe for. He had a good win over us last week. You know, I think they deserve to win 4 or 5-1, as I touched on earlier. But they're up against Leicester. I know they're having a bad trot at time of recording against Spurs, but they're playing against a Spurs side that have been red hot in the second half of the season. So you can allow Leicester a bit of a blip at the King Power on this occasion. But I think it'll be normal service resumed on Sunday to finish the season. I think Craig Shakespeare has done a marvellous job since coming in for Ranieri. He's done magnificent. They got winning a couple of goals of beating Atletico Madrid in the Champions League. They've had they
beat them in the second leg, didn't they? So
yeah, they did. They've achieved the one ambition, the one objective they needed to do, and that was to stay in the league, and they've done it with flying colours. I would say now, if you're the guy who owns King Power, give Shakespeare the job, because he knows the club better than anyone else. So yes, I would give it to Craig Shakespeare, and I think the winners. I think Leicester City will get the win as well. I'm going to say Leicester 2, Bournemouth 0, and it would be a nice way for the season to end at the King Power. They've been really good this year, apart from that, obviously, the Spurs defeat, which could be a Spurs defeat at time of recording. But Leicester to bounce back, 2-0 winners.
Right, then we move to Anfield, which is this is well, I mean, it may be the last game of the season for Liverpool. It is the biggest game of their season. Because a win gets them top 4. Regardless of what happens anywhere else, they win, they play Champions League football next season. There's nothing Arsenal can do about it if they win. If they were to lose 2-0, and then Arsenal were to draw 1-1 with Everton, it would still be in their hands because they would then have a playoff. A playoff for the playoff. It's a funny playoff. But that I don't think that'll happen because Middlesbrough scoring 2 goals in one match is once in a blue moon. I don't mean to sound really bad for Middlesbrough, but it is the glaring problem with your team right now. So yes, like I said, so Liverpool win, they get top 4, and then it is it's down to what Arsenal and Man City do to decide who finishes where in terms of the top 4. So yes. I think Liverpool will get the job done here. They'll get the result they need. I can't see Middlesbrough scoring.
No,
they're very blunt up front. It's that rhymed a lot better than it was in my head. Blunt up front. Yeah, kind of works.
It does.
But yes, Liverpool, they've actually coped quite well since Mane got injured. I expected them to kind of go off the boil, but they managed to find goals
They've been
from
very
elsewhere.
impressive. Very impressive.
Firmino stepped up, Coutinho stepped up. Daniel Sturridge coming back from injury and getting a goal against West Ham was that was unexpected and very much needed. So that set them on the path for their 4-0 win anyway. Whether this will be Daniel Sturridge's last game for Liverpool could be another thing. I mean, I would imagine he starts because they don't really have any other fit forwards. Because Mane's injured, Ings is injured. I mean, there is Origi, I suppose, who could play. So it's between him and Sturridge as to who starts. But I think Liverpool, they will be... the best way to put it is that Klopp will have them in maximum gear from the very off. And if you've ever seen a full-out Klopp team... basically, look back to Dortmund versus Malaga back in, I think it was 2013.
Oh, remember.
The comeback of all comebacks in the Champions League that wasn't a final. So that's the kind of expectation as to how Liverpool are going to play. They are literally going to throw everything, including the kitchen sink, at Middlesbrough and score as many goals as possible because goal difference could be a thing between them and Man City as to who finishes third. Because as it stands, if Man City were to somehow draw, the goal difference between Man City and Liverpool is 3. So they would need to score 4 goals against Middlesbrough to take it off Man City if Man City were to somehow draw. Or if maybe even Man City lost. Whether that will happen, I don't know, because they are playing Watford, and who knows what will happen in that game. But we'll get to that in a bit. So I'm going to go for. I've been rather lavinish. What even is that word? Rather outlandish. That was the word I was looking for. Rather outlandish with my score predictions for Liverpool, and I'm going to stick with that theme. I'm going to go for they're going to blow Middlesbrough out the water to try and get that top 4 place secured. I'm going to go for 5-0. I just think Middlesbrough defence, to their credit, this season has been pretty good for a promoted side. It has been pretty good, but they haven't scored. Well, is it? They've only scored something like 25 goals this season, which is not enough to stay up. Not even. I mean, I don't know how many we've scored. There might be a bit less than that. I don't know, but they're the league's lowest scorers. And when you're not scoring any goals, there's a lot of pressure on the defence. And when you've got a team like Liverpool who will absolutely bombard you from minute 1 all the way through to the final whistle, they're going to struggle. And I just think the way Klopp will have them set out to go, it will just be an absolute whirlwind from first minute to last, and they'll be wanting to get that job done. And I think they will. So I'm going to go for Liverpool 5, Middlesbrough 0. Sorry, Middlesbrough fans, but it's going to be a last day to forget, I'm afraid.
Me, I'm going to go for a Liverpool victory. I can't see whether. I don't think Middlesbrough are going to score again this season. They've been appalling in front of goal. We've said it many times on this programme. We've said it many times here on LTF. They have just not scored enough. Yes, Nick, I don't think Negredo seems to be interested. I think they've signed Bamford and not used him. They had Jordan Rose but didn't use him. They sold him to Sheffield Wednesday. Big mistake. So there's been massive mistakes made by Karanka. Obviously, Steve Agnew had to come in. They didn't get a quality replacement in to get them out of the trouble they were already in. And you've got to put your blame at Steve Gibson's door for that. Now, in terms of going out to the Championship, I think they're better than Sunderland, better prepared than Sunderland, if they get the right manager in. But I don't think they're as well prepared as Hull are. Next year they may be lucky to try and get a top 6. But it depends on who they can bring in as a manager and what players he will be able to bring in. As for Liverpool, I think they're going to get Champions League, no problem. We won't need a playoff. I'm pretty certain of that. I think they'll win very comfortably. I don't think they're going to win by 5, although it wouldn't surprise me in the least. But I think they'll win very comfortably. I'm going to say Liverpool 3, Middlesbrough 0. And Middlesbrough fans, sorry, but your nightmare's going to end as badly as it started, I'm afraid. But for Liverpool fans, I think you can safely say, look forward to top quality European opposition at Anfield next year and enjoy every moment of this last game of the season. You've deserved Champions League. Well played. 3-0 I'm going for Liverpool.
Yeah, I've got to say, Liverpool's season, I think, can be considered a success. Because,
yes.
It's hard not winning silverware this season. I mean, they came very close last season. They lost the League Cup final and the Europa League final. So they came very close to silverware in his first half season. This is the first full season that Klopp has had, and it's been quite clear that he's been mainly focusing on trying to get that Champions League. I know they got quite far in the FA Cup and everything, and a lot of Liverpool fans would have been clamouring for a trophy. But he can't get those top quality players without the Champions League. So focusing on that first, I think, is he can't get it via the Europa League this time round. So any kind of transfers and stuff that he maybe had planned for this season, had they won the Europa League, will go into effect next season, provided they win. You can't build really, you can't become a great team unless you're in the Champions League. So he's set up well, and provided they get the job done, which I think they will, I think they'll be in good stead for next season, because Klopp is a draw. Klopp himself is a draw. Liverpool is a draw. Champions League is a draw. They'll have everything they need to attract the top quality players, and I'm pretty sure they'll have the finances too. So they shouldn't have a problem next season. So to finish top 4 without any trophies, first season, essentially second season, but his first full season, I think can be considered a success. I think it's a case of if he doesn't win anything next year, it might be considered a underachievement, but still good if they finish top 4. Then it would be a case of season after that would be when you're kind of like, you've got to win something. So he's got himself in a good position. He's bought himself, essentially time to sort out his team. So it'll be a case of next season will be when things should start happening for Liverpool. So a good season for them to finish top 4. Then we move on to a team who was desperate to finish top 4, but they do have a bit of an escape clause, which is that the Europa League final, which is very much what Liverpool's situation was last season. So they go up against Crystal Palace in the last game at Old Trafford this season. Manchester United, they've already said, Jose Mourinho has already said that they're focusing on the Europa League, which I think is great because it gives opportunities to squad players and youth players, which Manchester United have been known to do. You know, Jose Mourinho hasn't particularly been known to giving youth players a chance. So for them to do that would be great. I have no idea what kind of team they're gonna play. Rooney will probably play, would be my guess, because it could be his last Old Trafford appearance for Manchester United before he either disappears off to China or down the road to Everton. So we really don't know what's happening with the Rooney situation. My guess would be he probably leaves, so he probably plays as captain and all that, and you know it will probably be his day and everything. He'll probably get a penalty to take, would be my guess, because it'll be the last opportunity for players like Ashley Young to fling themselves to the ground inside the box without getting penalised the match after. So not saying that Manchester United are full of divers at all, but they have been known to have particular players in the past. It could be, but you know, for Rooney's last appearance, I think people will slack off slightly. Maybe, who knows? In terms of score predictions, well, could be anything. It really depends on the strength of the United squad. I'm pretty sure most people know that Crystal Palace will be full strength. Wilfried Zaha will be wanting to show up the club, which said that bought him and then said he wasn't good enough. So I'm gonna, based off of the fact that Manchester United are probably going to pick a weakened team, I'm going to go for a 2-2 draw. I think Palace obviously absolutely smashed Hull in their last game, and they'll be looking to carry over that good form into this match. Zaha has been superb. Townsend, again, been superb. Benteke, very much looking like the player that Liverpool thought they bought back a couple of seasons ago. So I'm going to go for 2-2, just because I think United will pick a weakened team and Palace are in good form, and I think a 2-2 draw is probably fair for both sides. If United pick a full strength team, though, it could be different, but I'm just going off the basis that Jose Mourinho said he's going to pick a weakened team.
Well, I've gone for a draw like you, but I don't think there's going to be much happening. I think this is going to be a typical end-of-season game where I believe both sides will cancel each other out. United, as you say, playing a full-strength squad. Obviously, Big Sam Allardyce, very defensive in his tactics. Going away from home, he'll be happy to get a 0-0, and that's exactly what I'm going for. I can't see a goal being scored. If United are putting their eggs in the one basket, and Palace, oh yeah, of course they've got Benteke in form and one or two others, well, Sahaba and all that, but they're going to Old Trafford. Allardyce will go there thinking even if we get a 0-0, it's a big result for us. I just can't see them. I can't see either team trying to outfox the other, and I don't know why. I think this is going to. I needed to have a 0-0 in there somewhere, and I think if I'm wrong, I'll have egg on my face. But I think I can safely say I think this is probably going to be the last game on Match of the Day this season, this week, and I'm going to go for United 0, Crystal Palace 0. Sorry guys, sorry United fans, sorry Palace fans, but that's enough.
They might put it first. It's we won 2-0 one week and we had 2 0-0 draws ahead of us somehow. But that's a question for Gary Lineker. Anyway, moving on then to the Battle of the Red and White Stripes. Southampton going up against Stoke in a game which screams there is nothing to play for. This is going to be boring. Or maybe entertaining. Who knows? Both teams, mediocre seasons, really. Both safe. Southampton probably a little bit disappointing for them this season, considering that they've finished quite highly. They still have the possibility of finishing 8th, which is the grand prize for anybody outside the top 7, basically. The only team that can't finish top 8 are basically the bottom 6, for obvious reasons. So, it's... I mean, you say that the 0-0 of the day was Man United Crystal Palace. I'm going to say 0-0 between Southampton and Stoke. I really can't see both teams. they're just going to be going through the motions. There's not really much to. I know a lot of people say there's not much to play for. There is a bit of money to play for essentially in final position standings, but players don't care about that, do they? Let's face it.
Not many players do. No.
They're still going to get paid the same obscene amount of money. So yeah, I'm going to go for 0-0. I just can't see any kind of excitement. The only excitement I'd get out of this is if Jay Rodriguez scored, and he probably won't even start. Although he has done the last few games, who knows? But I'm just going to go for 0-0. I can't see anything really happening in this game.
Well, I'm disagreeing with you on this one. I do think that Southampton, I don't think they've had a bad season. You've got to say, you say they've had a mediocre season, but you look at the form of the top 7 teams. They've been top 7 for a reason. Southampton are probably going to be the best of the rest. So I don't think it's a bad season at all. They've got to a League Cup final. Okay, they probably haven't won as many home matches as they should have done, perhaps. But having said all that, on their day, they are a good side, and I do think Claude Puel deserves a bit of leeway after the first season. I don't think one or two Southampton fans have been happy the way he's gone about it this year, but give him a transfer, give him another season, give him another go next season, give him another transfer window, see if he can pull some gems out, because I think he's a decent manager. He's proved it in France. Why not give him another go next season? As for Stoke, below par from their own high standards. They've been 10th for the last 2 or 3 years. They're going to finish certainly below that now. But it's not all doom and gloom for Stoke. They're going to stay in the Premier League again. It's going to be their 9th consecutive season next year. Great achievement for a team like Stoke. But their season, you could say, has been a bit more mediocre than what Southampton's are. But as far as the game is concerned, I think it will be a very good game. I think it'll be a decent game. Southampton, I want to finish with a flourish. And I think it'll be a 3-goal. I think there'll be 3 goals in the game. And I think Southampton will nick it by 2-1, but Stoke will give him a good run. I do think both teams will want to finish the season really strongly, as opposed to what you're predicting. So I'm going to say 2-1 to Southampton.
Okay, then we move to Swansea against West Brom. This one's a tough one to call, I suppose. Especially from a Burnley fan perspective, because Swansea could overtake us with a win, which would be horrendous considering how long they've been behind us. But hey ho, this one also screams draw to me. Maybe Swansea have been managing to get wins by any means possible so far, and I think that was in their relentless pursuit of survival more than anything else. Now that that's secured. Whether they'll play with that same relentlessness, I don't know. Whereas West Brom, on the other hand, not the most exciting team to watch, unless they're playing Burnley. Every time. So, yeah, not the most exciting team to watch. Dangerous from set pieces, as we know, as I saw firsthand. So I'm gonna go for 1-1. I somewhat get the feeling that West Brom will score from a corner and Llorente will score for Swansea, and it'll finish all square. That's what I'm going to go for. So,
well, I'm just going to say well done to Swansea. I didn't think 2 weeks ago I said they were going to go down. How badly wrong was I? I think I said it 2 or 3 weeks ago on this programme that they were going to go down. But they proved me wrong, and well done to Paul Clement. He's done a marvellous job. Well done, Swansea. It's great to see them back there next season, and they've got a very good stadium there. And I think the pressure is going to be off them. But I think West Brom, they've had a terrific season. I think to finish 9th would be, I think, their best position since 1981 when they finished 3rd in the top flight, the old First Division in those days. I think West Brom will end the season winning this one. Again, it will be another 3 goals. I think it'll be split 2-1 this time to the away team. I think West Brom I think they've had a good season. I think they deserve to win with a victory. But well done to Swansea on staying up. I didn't think they could do enough, but that win against Swansea was a real game changer. So well done to Swansea. But I think West Brom on the day will get the victory. I'm going to say 2-1 West Brom.
Okay. What I will say then is Swansea could potentially stay up, not having 40 points. I think that'll be the first time that's happened in a long, long time. Would that be classed as a big achievement? I suppose it would be, considering how competitive the league has been this season. So, I mean, staying up is staying up. You don't care how many points you finish with. But the general trend has been whenever you get every team that stayed up got to 40 points.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's happened in a while. There has been the odd occasion. I think it was West Ham back in 2000. Was it back in 2004-05? No,
it was 2003. 2003.
2003.
They went down with 42 points. They got relegated to Birmingham on the last day.
Yeah, that was it. They came up the 4-5 season because they played the FA Cup final in 2006. So that's the odd occurrence. So for them to finish on, we'll say less than 40 points. I mean, they could end up. I mean, not being funny, they're on 38 points. They could finish with 41. So they could still continue that trend, I suppose. But we've both backed them to not do that. But who knows? They could do it. The form they've been in recently could suggest that they would. But it's whether they still have the same mentality after obviously staying up. So it would be an interesting achievement, I'll say, to stay up with less than 40 points. But if they break that 40-point barrier, then obviously that continues the stereotype. You don't make it to 40, you don't stay up. And then we'll move on to the final game of the season. The final game of the season. The final game in our list, because they're all happening at the same time.
Yes.
Is Watford against Manchester City. Now, Watford obviously recently announced that they are parting company with their manager at the end of the season. Considering that they could potentially be finishing 17th, which would basically make it look like they've stayed up at the skin of their teeth, it kind of looks like an okay decision, but Watford aren't going to get any kind of stability changing manager every season, because I'm pretty sure this is like the third time in about 4 years that they've changed their manager at the end of the season. So
yeah,
it's not going to help them. And considering that one manager, the first manager that their owners got rid of immediately is sat in our dugout, kind of explains the kind of managerial situation over there. Obviously, the vacancy opens up the possibility of them perhaps going for Marco Silva, although they do seem to like to stick with Italian managers, so that could that rules out Marco Silva in that sense, I suppose. I don't know who they could get in to replace their current manager. I can't say his name properly. Is it Marazzi? Or if you,
it's Walter Mazzari.
Walter Mazzari. That's the one. Whoever they can get in to replace him, I've got no idea. What Italian's that? Claudio Ranieri?
Yes, there has been there has been a lot of speculation that he could be taking over. Whether that's true or not, I don't know. So viewers, do not quote me on that, or any Watford fans who might be foolish enough to tune into LTF. Please don't quote me on that. But it'll be interesting. I think, I mean, it's going to be an interesting summer for them, actually, to be fair.
Basically, any Italian with any sort of Premier League experience is probably in the frame. So Ranieri, Mancini, so those
Di
two
Matteo.
basically. Di Matteo, perhaps, but he hasn't had particularly good success with Aston Villa last season, so I can't see why. He did get West Brom to the Premier League, and obviously he did manage Chelsea briefly, managing to win a Champions League and an FA Cup in the space of 6 months, and then get sacked because he decided to bench Fernando Torres. But we'll forget about that. So I don't know who Watford will get in to replace their current manager, but going up against Manchester City, if Manchester City lose, they are very much in danger of finishing outside the top four, because, well, if Arsenal win and Liverpool win, that then puts Manchester City out of the Champions League places, basically. Actually, no, sorry. Arsenal have to win by 5 goals, and Manchester City have to lose for that to happen, because goal difference, obviously if Arsenal win, that puts them on 75. Man City are currently on 75, but they have a +5 goal difference on Arsenal, so even if Man City lose, they may still finish top 4, but the likelihood of them losing to Watford is, well, I don't think it's that high, if I'm honest.
No.
Watford are good at home, but Manchester City are one of those teams who, as good as you are, they can still turn you over at home, as they did to us and various other teams this season. Manchester City is hit and miss as they have been. They've improved since Claudio Bravo got injured, is what I'm going to say. Ever since he got injured, Caballero's come in and actually done a thing called saving, And Man City have been all right. So I'm going to go for. I'm going to say 3-1 to Man City. I think they'll get the job done, secure that third place, and they'll enjoy automatic qualification to the Champions League next season. Whether this season is classed as a success or not is another thing completely, because as much as it's Pep Guardiola's first season, it is also his first as a manager with no trophies. He will have learnt a lot from the season. Whether he drops his naive idea of how to play football in this league is another question entirely. Whether he can swallow his pride and welcome back Joe Hart is also another thing, although I doubt he will. That decision has probably cost them finishing top 2 at least. I'm gonna go with 3-1 to Manchester City. I just think Watford, there's a reason they're parting company with their manager, because they've kind of got to the 40-point mark. And then it just kind of all felt, they tumbled across that very much like we did, and then they've sort of just not been able to win games. The last couple of months have been fairly drab for Watford fans. They did put up a very good fight against Chelsea last week, I will say. I say last week, it was Monday. They did put on a fantastic show in that game. If they play like that against Man City, they have a chance. But that was one of those weird days, and John Terry was playing in Chelsea's defence. So that could have been the reason. But I'm going to go for 3-1 Man City, and Man City to secure top 3 for their season. Wouldn't call it a successful season, but it wasn't a bad season for Manchester City. Just slightly disappointing because they didn't get a trophy, but they have finished top 3. Well, they will have finished top 3 provided they win, obviously. So that, for Pep's first season, it's not horrendous. Everyone seemed to expect him to just walk his way to the league title and win trophy left, right, and centre because of his past. But it's a much tougher league, the Premier League, and Pep Guardiola has found that out very much the hard way.
Yeah. Well, I've got the dubious honour now of making the very last prediction this season in the Premier League.
Call the last one.
A very, very honour. It's a very big honour for me indeed. Before I make that prediction, I should say that I think there's no stability at Watford at the moment. They need to stop sacking managers. Okay, there's a reason for why Batshuayi is going. You alluded to just now that they got to the 40-point mark and they've jacked it in. They've gone on the holidays. They've got the deck chairs, buckets and spades out, and they might as well be in Marbs for all I care, for all they care. Manchester City have something to play for. This is the big difference, because I think this is what's made the prediction. Made my mind up with the prediction. I think Pep Guardiola's team will win handsomely. They'll win 3-0, but it's interesting to say. It's interesting you say about Guardiola. Just quickly, he said in a newspaper. I read a newspaper the other day that if he had been at Bayern Munich or Barcelona and he had a sort of season like that, like he's just done so this year, he would have been sacked. Now that's a bit of an omission, wouldn't you say? But having said all that, I think they'll end the season with a flourish at Vicarage Road. Watford have totally jacked it all in. They might as well be in Marbella for all we care. I think this has got to be an open and shut case for Manchester City. They'll win this one handsomely. I'm going to say Watford 0, Manchester City 3, and City, like you say, automatic qualification for the Champions League. No ifs, no buts, no problems.
Yes. The comment that Pep Guardiola made actually was that he also included the word big club, like Bayern Munich and such and such, which to me was kind of an odd comment, because you're then kind of saying that your club isn't a big club, and you're also saying that you can get away with worse seasons at Manchester City, which
didn't Pellegrini get sacked for finishing second?
He did. He won the League Cup, though, to be fair. So he even finished with a trophy. Pellegrini, to be honest, to me, was a better manager so far. Has been a better Manchester City manager than Pep Guardiola has.
And you could say Roberto Mancini. He won an FA Cup. I think he won a League Cup and a Premier League title. So he's won all the domestic honours. So
barring obviously Community Shield. But I can't remember if they won those. But it's so far out of those three managers, Pep has. Well, he hasn't. This is I don't know how. I can't remember how Mancini got on in his first season in charge. Did he win? Did he win the FA Cup?
He finished fifth, I think. He finished fifth because he took over halfway through 2009-10, but he lost that match
because of Mark Hughes. Yeah. And then the following season, I think they won the FA Cup. I can't remember off the top of my head.
Yeah, they won the Cup the next season, and then they won the Premier League on the very last kick, didn't they? So, yeah.
Yeah, so in terms of full seasons, then Pep has had a full season and hasn't won a trophy, whereas the ones who he has, the one he replaced in his full seasons won trophies, and so did Mancini. So, well, I mean, the only thing about Mancini was that the reason he left was because they didn't win anything. So Pep Guardiola hasn't won anything, so why isn't he leaving? It's a bit of a, I think if we have the same scenario this time next season, we'll be talking about Pep Guardiola leaving, because, he's got some rebuilding to do, but he's already got Aguero, who's a world-class player as it is. Silva is one of the best playmakers in Europe. Kevin De Bruyne, one of the best playmakers in the world. Vincent Kompany, when he's fit, is one of the best centre-backs. They loaned out one of the best goalkeepers in Europe.
That is the worst. That's probably the most catastrophically stupid decision of the season.
Like I said, that kind of thing has cost them. We'll say it's cost them 5 points. It's cost them at least a top 2 finish. They got rid of the guy who won, what was it, the Golden Glove. 2 seasons in a row, I think it was, most clean sheets, best goalkeeper. And they just shipped him out because he wasn't Pep Guardiola's idea of a goalkeeper who can use his feet better than his hands.
The idea of a goalkeeper is to use your hands better than your feet. Well, that's the whole idea, isn't it?
The whole idea of a goalkeeper is shot stopping. Doesn't matter whether it's your hands or not. Flipping throw John O'Shea in goal. He's probably better than Claudio Bravo if you've seen him in goal before. It was that to me was the stupid decision, and it's cost Manchester City. I think it would. They might have even won a trophy with Joe Hart in goal.
Oh, yeah, of course they would. Joe Hart to take a pair of hands, but there you go.
So maybe Pep Guardiola has learnt a lot from his first season. Who knows? But what we've learnt is that he is definitely riding on other people's success rather than his own. It's okay to tell Messi to play as a right winger, and it's okay to tell Robben and Ribéry to play as wingers, and Lewandowski, you go score a few goals and all that. But all that stuff was basically set up for him. Now he's come to a team where he's actually got to shape it himself. I do like the signing of Gabriel Jesus, or however the hell you say it, Jesus or whatever.
I call him Jesus anyway.
He looks like a good signing. So there is, promise. But this time next season, if we're not talking about Pep Guardiola winning a trophy or being in an FA Cup final, because they haven't even made it to the FA Cup final. They got to the semis. Got very unlucky against Arsenal, I will say.
But the fact is, they didn't win the game.
They didn't win the game.
The thing is, it was something that Sean Dyche would say when he said against Lincoln, they didn't take care of business, and they didn't take care of business. Yeah. So
if we're in this position this time next season, with Pep Guardiola, I think we'll be talking about a guy who he'll be a dead man walking. I think, in my opinion, they might give him one more. They might give him maybe one more summer to kind of sort it out. But I think by that point he will have had. Well, let's think. He would have had 2 summer windows and 2 January windows to try and get success. If you have 4 transfer windows at Manchester City and you haven't won anything, I think you're in danger, because let's face it, Manchester City can go out and buy whoever the hell they please if they really, really wanted to. So it's. I personally think we will be in this situation next season. I think he's too naive, particularly with his goalkeeping ideas, and how I don't think he knows how to adapt to how some teams in the Premier League play. So he'll still play the nice football, and when it works, it's fantastic. But there are games where it doesn't work, and he doesn't look like he's got a plan B. So we'll see next season. He might surprise us all and win everything. God, who knows? We'll look right stupid if that happens, But the key thing is he's got him into Europe, the Champions League, which the whole reason they have him on board is because of his experience in the Champions League. So He might be able to get Manchester City far in the Champions League. You know, I'd say if they got to the semi-finals of the Champions League, perhaps he might get himself another season if he doesn't finish with a trophy. But we'll see. So that's it then. We're going to round off our final Premier League prediction of the season. And it's been entertaining, I suppose. We'll have a Premier League review programme show that will be after the FA Cup weekend to kind of summarise how the season went for everyone, and obviously our own club Burnley. Obviously for I can summarise it quite quickly here. It was a very successful season for Burnley because we stayed up. So yes, thank you for joining us for the final Premier League prediction. We will be back next week for the FA Cup final, and depending on how the playoffs fall as well, we'll have to look into the scheduling of that. But yeah, it's been good, John, hasn't it?
It has been good, and I'd want to make one or two reminders to subscribers of my own as well, that we've got the Chorus match delayed on Sunday. Well, it will be on a Monday afternoon. We'll have the commentary of the West Ham final match against West Ham, and then a week on Saturday we'll have full live match commentary of the FA Cup final. I think my build-up will kick off at about 5 o'clock. We'll take in a bar with me. We'll take in the whole shebang. And if we have to go to extra time, we'll have it all covered on the JBClaret YouTube channel. So stay with us for that. So we've got some interesting football coming up on both YouTube channels in the next sort of 2 weeks or so, haven't we? Yes,
we do. And we will keep you updated on what our plans are for the summer, because there's no football over the summer. So we're going to have to find something to do. John's probably going to do some cricket-related things, which I probably won't be doing because I'm not much of a cricket person myself, but each to their own. So yeah, that's it. Premier League predictions done and dusted for the next 3 months, and then we have to predictions for who's going to win next year's Premier League. But we'll save that for after the summer, shall we? So thank you very much for joining us. Thank you all season, John, for joining me.
Thank you.
But we've got one more dance to do, and that's the FA Cup final. So I'll see you for that prediction. So thank you for joining us all season and laughing at some of our predictions and saying how good we are other weeks, like the Standards last one. That one annoyed me because it was against Burnley. John, I'm going to let you try and say something. Go on, have a go.
Well, I hope you very much enjoyed LTF this season. Myself and Chris have enjoyed bringing you every single programme. We put our heart and soul into it. Thank you very much for the support. Myself and Chris are going to sign off now, at least for the Premier League season at least. Thank you very much all for watching. See you very soon. We'll see you for the FA Cup final. Don't forget the FA Cup final commentary a week on Saturday as well on my channel. But until then, from me and Chris, take care and we'll see you soon. Ta-ra.
Cheerio.